each episode, each community episode, we take questions, comments, concerns, ideas, thoughts, and opinions submitted by the community through our website at greensuiterspodcast.com. Each of us pick a few that we want to cover, and we just dive straight into them. We're not going to talk about what we've been up to. We just go straight into the questions. And before we do that, Jason's going to talk about our giveaway for the month of August. This is the last opportunity for the August giveaway. This podcast is. Jason?
Yes, so we have two giveaways going on this month. The first one is from Leather by Dragonfly, your opportunity to win a apprentice apron in the sizes of small through 2XL. Apprentice apron is a very basic apron. Pencil pocket, regular pocket, tape measure clip. You have a little bit of flexibility on what direction those go, but if you guys want to find out more, go to leatherbydragonfly.com. But enter for your chance to win an apprentice apron from Leather by Dragonfly. And the other giveaway we got going on this month is the Carbon Methods Carbon Coat Kit, which is a cast iron maintenance rust preventative product that you can put on your cast iron surfaces. If you guys want to find out more about that, you can go to carbonmethod.com, or you can watch the latest YouTube video that I did where I did a full application of that along with how I go about cleaning my cast iron surfaces. Super thankful to both. What?
Unless you're listening to this episode in the year 2030, that last comment is not really relevant because Jason's most recent video at the time you're listening to this, it could be about cats. We have no idea.
Matter of fact, yeah, that's a good point, because my most recent video, by the time people listen to this, will not be that. But
yeah,
look for
he has a video about it.
Eliminating cast iron rust, everybody. I just put it on all three tools in my shop. Super hopeful about this product on what it does and what it advertises that it does. But they were gracious enough to give away one of their kits. So if you want an opportunity to enter, you need to go to greensuiterspodcast.com, go to the giveaway tab, and enter for your chance to win there. With the Leather by Dragonfly, you are not limited if you're in the United States, all 50 states. And I believe the Carbon Method is the lower 48. That could change, but regardless, enter the giveaway for your chance to win either one of those prizes. And then be on the lookout next month, the month of September. If you listen to our previous episode, you'll know that Leather by Dragonfly is actually going to be doing a custom apron. You can't enter for it just yet, but as of September 1st, you'll be able to go to the website and start entering for that. So they're giving away a custom apron in honor of our 50th episode, which was the last episode. So a lot of good giveaways going on right now. Super excited about it. If you guys want your chance to win, definitely head over to greensuiterspodcast.com. Thank you, Ben. Back to you. Wait, it's me, because I'm answering the first question, aren't I?
Yeah. Back to you, Jason.
All right, so we don't do what's on our bench or whatever other weird stuff that other podcasts say, what we've been up to. Yeah. So we're just going to go ahead and start getting into some questions. And the first one that I'm going to go with tonight is from Nick Hall. And it says, this question is specifically for Jason. I also have the Harvey G700 dust collector, and I'm intrigued with the self-cleaning system that you built for the filters. I want to make one as well, but I'm concerned with effectiveness. Since the filters are full of fine particles that were too small to make it to the first or second bin, wouldn't they just end up right back in the filters? And if you use the dust collector to clean them, hope this question makes sense. Would a Festool dust extractor be a better option since there is a HEPA filter on it? Not trying to be a Hans, I'm seriously curious.
Hey, I take great offense to that comment, sir. I don't agree with this at all.
Thanks for the show and all the content that the three of you guys produce. All right, so here's what I'm going to tell you. No, you should do it. And here's why. There's a few reasons why you need to create that filter clean out. Because one, it makes the cleaning of the filters much easier. Therefore, you will do it more often, right? So if there's no other reason for you to do it, that is the reason that you should do it. In terms of it, if it's too small to go to the first or second bin, wouldn't it just go back to it again? What you have to understand is that the dust collector is not perfect. It's not going to collect every single thing. So no, it's not just going to go back through. And when you do it, I would challenge you to do one thing: empty out your filters empty out your 2 bags completely empty them out, put the new bags in there, then clean your filters and open it back up once you're done cleaning your filters, and you'll see that a lot of that dust is now in those bags. So don't think of it like that. It's not a matter of, a lot of that dust could have gone because you let it get too high and it's gone over those things into the filter. By you having that filter clean out and doing it more often, your filters will remain cleaner way more often than they would if you didn't have that on there, because it is no longer an inconvenience. It is actually very easy to do. Anytime I start a new project, I always clean out my filters. Anytime I come into my shop and I know that I'm going to be milling a lot of lumber, I clean out my filters before, and I will clean them out after. Anytime I change my bags out, I will always clean my filters, because it is so easy to do. It takes no time now that I made that filter clean out. So no, a HEPA filter festival dust extractor, absolutely no, 100% would not be any better. It would actually not be very effective, because you're talking about 4-inch ports to a festival dust extractor with, whatever 36 millimeter hose, a 50 millimeter hose, whatever it is. You're basically pulling that stuff out and then sucking it up, and then you're just filling up another bag that costs, one could argue, a lot more than the plastic bags that go inside of that Harvey. So no, make the filter clean out and use it. And I'm telling you, you'll be very glad that you did. Since I made that, not one time have I had my filters clogged. Not one time have I had my filters back up. And all it will take is one time of those filters clogging and not having that filter clean out, and you'll be like, why did I wait so long? You do not want those filters to clog on the Harvey, because it is a huge pain in the ass to clean those out. So that is my answer. Great question, but I'm the only one that can answer that. So I'm going to go ahead and bump it over to Sedge.
Oh, okay. Wow, that was from Nicholas Hall. My first question's from Nicholas Hall.
Also from Nick Hall.
Wow. Okay. It says Sedge, Ben, Jason, and Hans. What's up? The world of social media, constantly asking for something new, clients demanding their piece sooner, and the day-to-day of life just getting in the way. Sometimes it's hard to take a minute and slow down. Don't I agree? So my question is this: what is your magnum opus in woodworking? What is the one thing you would love to build, regardless of time it would take, or content you could film around it? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I got a great answer. When I'm older and retired, or just have too much more time on my hands, I'd love to build my own kitchen with floor to ceiling cabinets. Okay, that's cool. Okay, I have been trying for years to whittle out the time. I think it's a rite of passage for a woodworker to build a chair, but I've been building stools through tenon stools. I did a really nice bench / coffee table for Festool. I did it out of some through tenon joinery. I want to build a Welsh stick chair. I've always wanted to build a Windsor chair, but I've been following Lost Art Crafts for quite some time. And but the thing is I've been watching it online. Christopher Schwartz and the gang at Lost Art Press, they're really into chair building. Chris is a phenomenal chair builder, and I want to do that. And I know I have to whittle out the time. It's like, I'll go back to my past weekend down in south of Indianapolis at Mark Adams. Mark has always asked me, when are you going to take a class here? When are you going to take a class here? You teach here, you should take a class. And I said, I want to take your joinery class. He goes, okay, next year I'm teaching it 5 times. You have to take it. It's just really tough to whittle out time, because I was telling him, I go, I'll schedule a vacation. Next thing I know, someone asked me to do something, and there goes my vacation time, which I don't mind. But, you have to take that time to do something for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So mine's building a stick chair, and I'm going to do it. It's just finding the time. So Nick, I hope that answered your question. You guys, you got something that you want to build that you just keep putting off?
I keep thinking about wanting to make like a I don't, it's not a helmet rack. It's kind of like cubby holes, but for helmets. Like I've wanted to
Mhm.
make an entire boudoir, I guess, for all of my motorcycle gear. Every time I like fumble around stacking my helmets in my basement, I think, man, I just need to build this thing, but it's just materials, man, they're so expensive right now. So expensive.
That's actually a question that I'm going to cover.
You know, like I was really looking forward to building out my basement this fall, but I think I have to wait just because of how I mean I priced it last year, and the price now it's almost doubled, and so I don't I think I just need to wait for material prices to come down. So
Yeah.
I would love to have the time to completely build out my entire basement, like run the wiring, run the pipes, do everything. But I don't think that I can. I think I'll have to hire some people to do some things. But I would love to just do everything myself
Mm.
if I had the time to do it and the budget to do it as well.
For me, I'd like to design and build a chair like Sedge. Part of me wants to do a Maloof style chair, but another part of me wants to like come up with my own design and create a chair. One of those ideas that I have is a campaign chair like Patrick made, which he actually sent me all the documentation for that. So I think I might actually make a pair of campaign chairs for our living room, but a little mix of leather and wood. The other project that I'd really like to do, if time is not an issue, would be a canoe. I really would love, absolutely
Oh.
love to build a canoe. I'd probably never use it. I'd probably just hang it from my ceiling like Jason Hibbs hangs his boat from his ceiling. But there's something about that process that really intrigues me. And there's a lot of cool things that I've never done and I would love to try. So a canoe would definitely be another.
Every little John boat that I fished with my grandfather up in northern Maine, my grandfather built. He had one of
Really?
all the different ponds, and we'd go out and him and I would be fishing, and I go, Papa, you build this one? He goes, I did. It's a rite of passage for a woodworker to build a boat, and he was a master craftsman. My grandfather, Papa Bossy. It's something, you know, you said that and I go, there's something about building a boat, a chair, a boat. There's some people who build guitars, you know, an instrument.
Right. Yeah. That's actually, believe it or not, I don't play instruments at all, but I would absolutely love to build a guitar. But yeah, a canoe, I would just like to have one and have it in here, you know, show I built that, you know what I mean? I don't even care if it ever touches water. I just want to build it to go through the process and learn a lot. So
you know, another rite of passage for Jason was just building heaps of trash, and he does that anytime.
I do that a lot of rites of passage. All right, Ben, it's your turn. A-hole.
All right, this one's from Broken Lead Woodworks, and he asks, "Does your spouse or significant other being in what you do matter?" For me, no. Like Jen, that's one of the things that I compliment her on quite often is how interested she makes me feel. And I always tell her it's not that you're into what I'm into; it's that you're into that I'm into something. That's what's really cool about what she does. You know, she'll come downstairs whenever I am woodworking. She'll come downstairs and she'll watch me make whatever, or if I'm just making anything on the 3D printer, on the shaper, or whatever. If I'm making something, she's down there watching me, and she's totally content with just sitting there and just watching me do stuff. She's like, you know, I'm amazed at watching you make this thing out of your, you know, with just your hands. You're not using like plans, or you're just doing it as you go along.
Naked of all things,
but naked, but with an apron on because it's all about safety.
Leather apron.
And so, you know, and she's not, she asks me questions, even with motorcycle stuff. She'll ask me questions about it, but she's not interested in motorcycles. She's not interested in woodworking. She's interested in me. And so she's asking these questions that, that I get to answer and say, oh, well, this is why I like this, and this is why I like this. And so, again, she doesn't have to be whatever I'm into. She just needs to be into me. And like I said, she does a really great job at that. I'm incredibly thankful for her, for the type of person it is that she does that. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I always feel very supported by her, which is really important. So,
Want me to go?
Yeah.
My answer is no. It's not something I really think about or consider. Could it make things better if that was the case? Yes. Where I think it does come into play, if it's like a hobby, my answer is no. If this is something that I want to do as a business and only do that, and that is what we live off of course it's important for your spouse or significant other to be supportive of it, because they need to understand that what you're doing is important because it's putting food on the table. But you know what will increase their confidence on that is if you're generating revenue and you're putting food on the table. But if Nicole was to come out here and tell me today, I have zero desire in anything that you do, and I don't know why you're doing it, it doesn't make sense, that wouldn't change what I'm doing. I'm doing this because it makes me happy, and I'm doing it because I know that I can provide a living for my family. In a perfect world, would I love Nicole to be involved with what I'm doing? Absolutely. I mean, that was a huge part of my business plan, was that Nicole would not have a regular job and she would be working under the Bent's Woodworking realm and doing things to take the stress off my plate. But I'm a realist, and I know that probably is not going to happen because she's not into it the way that I am. So for me, I don't think that that's necessary. But the reason why I don't think it's necessary is because my wife has already seen that it is a viable option. And to be completely honest with you, a much more viable option than what my career has been for the past 20 years, So I personally don't think it's as important, but I do think there are definitely benefits to it. Sedge?
This is a tough one. I'm going to say yes. It's important to me because she's always believed in me. When I first started, she said she was into it. She saw what I was doing, but I did it for a living, and I did put food on a table with it. She's also very she's a craftsperson too, with quilting. So she sees that creative side and she believes in me. I believe in her with her quilting. My whole life is woodworking, and because of her belief in me, I was able to walk away from our woodworking business, cabinetry business, and work for Festool. It was a leap of faith. I knew it was a good company to work for, but Mary Ann's always believed in my woodworking and my skill. And somebody once asked me, why do you do it? What fuels you? This was the owner of This Old House Ventures. And everybody was saying, what fuels you? What energizes you? I go, I like to show off to my wife. He just started laughing. He goes, that's a really good answer. Because when she walks out in the shop and she goes, wow, that jazzes me. Or she's showing people around the house and she goes, oh yeah, he built that. Wow, that jazzes me. She's into it. She knows, but we've been doing it together forever for 30 years, so.
Yeah.
It does matter to me that she believes in me and believes in my woodworking path, my craftsman's path, and vice versa. She's a phenomenal quilter, and I believe in her. She's taking some time off from it. She'll get back into it. Summertimes she doesn't like to go up into her quilting studio. She chills out, but winter pops around and she's back up there. And now that Max is born, boy, she'll be quilting a storm up.
Quilt away. Marianne, quilt away.
For sure.
All right, so it's back to me, isn't it?
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm going to paraphrase some of it because it's a really long one, but it's from Evan Vonderheide. What he's basically asking is, do we think it's worth it to chase down logs with a mobile mill, or linking up with, tree removal companies, that kind of stuff, to basically create your own lumber with a mobile mill? Very interested in hearing what we think. I understand you are beyond resorting to getting boards however you can, but go back to when you were more of a hobbyist, becoming more before becoming social media royalty. I thought Jason would like that distinction. Thank you so much, Evan.
Oh my God.
It's the air is thin up here on my high throne. Or would you just suck it up and buy boards at the high cost? I've been having issues with the more professionally milled traditional lumber sheets of veneered overboards because of their price not come down very much ever since COVID. I see the dollar signs on my property, like you do with down oak trees for firewood. Am I being super stingy, or do others think that way too? Thanks, guys. You have an amazing show. Side question: can you post the monthly giveaway winners on your site? I think it might be helpful for some of us who gets these amazing prizes. Sure. Maybe Ben won't mind doing that. It's actually not a bad idea. Okay, so here's what I would tell you. No, 100%, absolutely not. No, 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 no. It is not going to be any cheaper or better for you unless you already have a mobile mill to go around and mill logs. Plus, the other thing is, unless you know somebody who has a kiln that you can either do it for free or pay money to get stuff kiln dried, having a mobile mill does nothing for you unless you plan on using that wood in a year or two. Here's what I will say. The lumber prices are not going to stay this high forever. They've gone up, they've come down, they've gone back up. They're really high right now. They're going to come back down. If you're doing it as a hobby, maybe save your money to, and I'm not saying this to try to be like rash or an asshole, but save your money and wait till you have enough money to purchase the materials that you want for that project, or use a cheaper material. The other thing I would encourage everybody to do is to shop around, because just because something is $98 for a sheet of plywood at one place doesn't mean it's not going to be, say $75. That doesn't mean it's going to be the same quality plywood. It also doesn't mean it's going to be the same quality kiln dried walnut from one place at $7 a board foot versus 13 at another. Look around, shop around. I do not think it's worth it to go through all of that trouble unless you already have the equipment and you're willing to wait. You're not really going to save any money. Like if you were like, hey, lumber prices are really high right now, so instead I'm going to buy everything that I need to make my own mobile mill and go around and cut down these logs that I can use in a year or two. You're not saving any money, because in a year or two, the prices might be, back down lower. Make no mistake about it. Lumber prices will probably never be back down to the levels they were pre-COVID. And that's just, history telling you that. Like if people have been willing to pay this much for lumber, why would a company ever go back to the lowest price possible when they know that they're going to get it? So it might come back down drastically, but it probably will never come back down to what it was. A good example of that is you're probably never going to buy $2 2x4s at Home Depot again. You might get back down to buying $3 or $4 2x4s. You're probably never going to get back down to buying $2 2x4s, right? Because people are paying the increased cost. That's my opinion. I don't know if that's true.
No, I disagree with that.
Really, do you?
Yes. The market's always going to decide, and people, competitive pricing, especially in the capitalist market, it'll drive.
It
if,
will,
if,
but
if inflation does calm down. Now, I can't say that it's going to be $2 because what made it $2 before, but
that's what I'm saying.
But you look at gas prices, right?
Uh-huh.
Or competitive gas prices. One place sells it for $2 a gallon. The place across the street sells it for $1.99. Competitive pricing.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And I was going to use the gas price as an analogy as well. When I was in high school, you know what I was paying per gallon for gas? 89 cents.
Yeah, so was I.
Will it ever get down to 89 cents again? The answer is no. 100% certainty you will never see gas at 89 cents a gallon again.
No,
I haven't
no,
seen it since I was in high school.
no.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I 100% fully agree with you that it will never stay at what it's at right
Well,
now.
no. So there's, I mean, not to get too
It'll
much
just
into
never come
economic.
back down to
Well,
what it was pre-COVID.
well, not to get into too much economics, but there's inflation's normal. What we're in now is like massive inflation, but
Yeah.
I don't want to get into
Thanks, Biden.
it. I would say from his question, it seems like, he says, I see dollar signs on my property. I mean,
He's
Jason's
also
right.
thinking about it in terms of selling it.
Yeah, like there's I would say that it is possible. There's a huge upfront cost associated with that. You could definitely undersell a lot of people, but the biggest thing between, I mean, I don't know what size your property is, but you compared to another business, your resources are not renewable. They are. They
Right.
have renewable. Like
Right.
they can always pick a different country to get it from.
That's a
So
great point.
you might do okay for now, but it's not sustainable to do that. Unless you're continually buying up new properties with a whole bunch of trees on it, it's not going to be good in the long run. The only caveat I have to that is if you do have a substantial amount of land and you're building something that is like meaningful. So my family, they have about 1,500 acres in Louisiana that they own for hunting property. And when all the uncles built this hunting lodge 20 years ago, they built it with the lumber from the property. They had someone come out there with an Alaska sawmill. They cut everything up. They kilned it. And then they started building the lodge about 2 years later. So, that's a really cool story. Like, that my surrogate dad can pretty much say, I built this with my brothers with our own hands. We built everything here from, trees that we got on this property. Like that's a really cool story.
Right.
And so unless it's like really meaningful for you and you're about to go headstrong into being a lumber supplier and you have, again, a renewable sources of lumber, probably not a good idea. Unless you just really like milling your own lumber, then you can't really put a price on it because it's something that you enjoy doing. I think it was Matt, God, what's the last name? Cremona. He was like, he said, getting in the lumber milling business was the worst thing I've ever done, just because of how much upfront cost there is and how much it's very intensive. And unless you're able
I think it's a different conversation because you're 100% right. There was a recent episode of either the Lumber Industry Update or Wood Talk where they talked about this exact topic of sustainability like you just talked about. If you don't have enough lumber at your disposal to sustain the people that are buying it from you, they're going to move on and it's not worth it. If you have that sustainability, then yes, it could be a very good idea. So that's a super valid point, like an excellent point. If you have the lumber to do it, but understand that the people that are buying it from you are going to expect to come back all the time. Just like if you're getting it from I'll use an example. If you're getting it from a company that downs trees and they down the trees and they don't want to keep them on hand, they want to drop them off, but you only have so much storage space to store 100 trees when they basically need to get rid of 300. They might start finding somebody else that has the ability to store 300 trees versus the guy that has enough to store 100. So it was actually a really good conversation. And you bringing that up made me remember that. But selling it, cutting it down and selling it as opposed to the initial part of the question, which was buying it, I think are two totally different topics that we could talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But Ben is 100% right. If it may be a big startup cost, but if you're selling it and you haven't, a large amount of wood and you're seeing dollar signs, you definitely could make your money back 100%. He's right.
And yeah. And honestly, the only way that you're going to, well, unless you're unless you're being a middleman, and in that case, you can plan on getting cut out at some point. Um, unless you're able to kill it yourself, you're looking at something that you can't even really start profiting from for another 2 years. You know,
Yep.
depending on the
That's a
size
good
of your
point.
kiln. You know, so
Because you got to let it sit.
yep. And you have to have somewhere to store it once you're done killing it. You know, so
Sedge.
Um, suck it up and buy it. That's what I'm going to say. It's
That's
really quick.
my
I've
thing.
seen this ebb and flow over the years, supply and demand, inflation, recession over quite a few years. What always happens is, I'll just use this as a quick one. A board of maple, maybe $49. Inflation hits, it goes up to 70, comes back down only to 60.
mhm.
All right. It's just, it never comes back to the same price it was before inflation, ever.
Sedge, do you think Noah would have had to pay more for Gopher Wood before or after the flood?
It all depends on the gophers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you guys pay a board foot when y'all built the ark? Do you remember?
50 cent.
This is actually another conversation. If you're a hobbyist and you're building things for your house and nothing more, I can understand where the problem is. If you're doing client work, who gives a shit what the material costs?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
the
build
customer's
it
gonna pay
into
for it.
your
Yeah.
quote.
Yeah, you
Client-
just
client-
charge the client that much
Yes.
plus whatever overage.
Yes.
It makes no difference. Like, you can explain to them, like, hey, lumber costs are higher.
But as
If you're doing it for yourself, I totally understand.
Yep, totally understand. And Ben, even you said about your basement, you're going to wait
Mhm.
because of building costs and material. Material
Yeah, it's
costs.
like, do I pay 30,000 now, or do I pay 15,000 in a year or two?
Yep.
You know?
But you have that luxury to do that, to wait.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not trying to sell it or
Yeah. It's just
have
like
time's on my side.
I got these and they were decent. I just broke down 5 sheets of maple plywood. Marianne works at Lowe's. I get 10%. They were $96. I get around $88, I think, a sheet. Pre-pandemic, Frank
60,
Miller, I'm buying.
65, 66.
Yeah, well,
maybe.
here's what's cool. I buy pre-finished maple, two-sided from Frank Miller for Festool. Pre-pandemic, it was $73 a sheet, which wasn't bad. Bought 16 sheets in 2021. You ready? 77. That's all.
Really?
Yeah. So I was pretty impressed with that. They weren't one of those people that were overpricing.
Mhm.
You just had to wait. That's all. So it's not that the deals are out there. It's there's jerks who are price gouging. I'm sorry. I'll call them out.
Yeah, Jesse
you.
Bent.
I
Dare you,
hate that.
scouger.
I hate that when people just take advantage of it stuff, and it's whack.
Whack.
It's whacked.
Yo, that is whack.
But suck it up. That's the price of materials. And I don't want to go through all that, buying a mill or buying this and buying a kiln and doing all of that. I'm done with that. I'd rather just, suck it up and buy what it's cost. And if I have that luxury, then I won't build it. I can wait and see, but I don't like to wait anymore. I like to get stuff done.
Mhm.
Sedge,
Alrighty
you're
then.
up. You're up.
Who's
buddy.
up?
You.
Me? Oh, okay. Let me go look. Oh, what did I have? Oh, here's the one. And it's from Nick Hall again. Man, Nick, I'm picking the questions. I like your questions. Okay. What's up, boys? Hope all is well, and I love the pod. My question is this: who or what is your gold standard or North Star in woodworking? He has an example. If you could ever build cabinets as good as Mike Farrington, I will die a happy man. His level of work is a huge inspiration to me, and it keeps me motivated. It gets to get better every build. What is it for you guys? Well, that's easy. For me, I'll start with it. I get motivated by people that I've met in my life that I don't think they even know they were kind of. It's are they are they mentors I'm trying to think through this as I'm answering it. I guess there are people that I watch as they present or teach or act with people. And the first one I'm going to name, I think everybody knows him. His name is Norm Abram. And he's a phenomenal carpenter, phenomenal woodworker. Of course, we all know him. But what I like is he's a phenomenal gentleman. And he takes the time to, if he gets recognized in public, someone will say, "Oh, you're Norm Abram," blah blah blah, and he'll just go, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And he'll ask them a question because he shows interest in them. And he's just such a even keel guy. And I mean, I've seen people kind of like, we're out at lunch, and I was with a group, and they keep looking back, and the, someone says, "Are you Norm Abram?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "What do you do for a living?" And it was just really nice the way he treats people, as just normal. And I've always taken that away and said, you know what? That guy's the real deal. And the other one is, I'll say it again, he's probably one of the best teachers I ever met, but I like the way
Thank you.
You're very welcome,
I
Jason.
was waiting for it. I was waiting for it to come.
His name is Mark Adams. He's been running a school for 30 years, but he also, he opens up the day and talks to people and I like the way he runs his shop, how he runs his business, how he runs the day. He's 100 miles an hour. Everybody knows that. But he inspires me every time I chat with him, every time I see him present. Just an amazing person. So those two people have meant a lot to me in the last 20, 30 years that I've gotten to know them. As far as a craftsman, I got to hang out for a day with Sam Malouf, who before he passed away, a year or two before he passed away, and just understanding what a nice person he is. Yeah, we all know him as a craftsman, but the takeaway is gentlemen, people, these guys, all three of them, take the time to understand that person who's asking them questions. They make you feel good. They make others feel welcome. They're all three of them are phenomenal craftsmen. So those, I guess, are my North Stars. I hope that answered your question, Nick. How about you, Ben?
I wouldn't say that I aspire to be as good as other people. I think I just try to, whatever it is that I'm doing, I just try to do it the best that I can with what I know and have in that moment. I think it's very easy to kind of maybe get down on yourself or kind of over critique yourself. But I just try to keep in mind where I'm at currently, and that I could always get better. I think I have a challenge of recognizing my own good work. And not that I think it's bad, I just don't recognize
because you don't
it.
see it very often.
I just don't recognize that it's good, and I think that I could probably do that a little bit more, kind of give myself a little bit more credit. But and I think any of us can kind of attest. You put out a video or you do some kind of work and you think that it's kind of mediocre, and then a lot of people come back and say that it's really great. And it's like, I wish I could see what they see, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
You know? Because I think the same thing could be done for anything that you make with your hands. You may see it as something really simple, or maybe something that's not that great, but I guess it's like a beauty's in the eye of the beholder kind of thing.
You just said something and it made me think about the three people I just mentioned. All three of them they all wanted to pass on what their knowledge is.
Mm.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not necessarily about accolades. It's about generational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on, Ben. That was
Yeah.
my gem. That was worth me showing up for the podcast.
Good.
Thanks, brother.
What about you, Jason?
I don't know if I necessarily have like individual people. There's people out there that I look up to and I think are
Mike
very
Coffey.
talented, like
Thank you.
Mike Coffey.
Cliff. No, when it comes to like furniture making, it would be Cliff from Ham Built or Green Street Joinery out of New Jersey on Instagram. Those are a couple of accounts that I look at the stuff that they do and I'm like, wow. Ken DeCoste is another really, really good example of that, especially when it comes to cabinetry. But for me, with what I do, I don't necessarily have, each one of them is more tailored to a specific type of thing that they do. But I respect what they do, and I think they're great craftsmen. I don't consider myself to be a good woodworker. Go
Neither
ahead,
do we.
Ben. Yeah,
Neither do we.
there we go. See, I didn't even have to wait for it. I could just say, "Go ahead, Ben," and you were already in the midst of saying it.
I had it in the queue. It was already ready to go.
When I look at some of these other guys that have smaller accounts, we've talked about this before. I'm like, I just don't understand why I've been fortunate enough to have the situation that I've had. When I look at these guys that are, light years ahead of me and are so much better than me, which is why I want to challenge myself going into retirement on projects that I do, because I want to prove to myself that I can actually do certain things and continue to learn. If we were talking about from a business perspective, there are three people, that I look up to, actually four, pretty heavily, and that I really want to pick their brains on. And that's Jonathan Katz-Moses. It's Mike Coffey. It is Jay Bates, and it's Mark Spagnuolo. And Jay and Mark, it's kind of a no-brainer why I choose them, because they've been in this game longer than anybody, and their business is heavily focused on what I like to do, which is the social media side of things. Jonathan is more of the social media, but more so the supply and demand kind of stuff, and building a business into multiple aspects of revenue, which he has just mastered. And with Mike, I got to be honest with you, there are not many other people in this world that I know like Mike Coffey, that he's on another level. He is on another level. His aspirations are unlike anybody I've ever met. His ability to handle large, this is going to sound terrible, workloads. I was going to say another word. It's like he thrives in those scenarios. Mike Coffey handles big loads really well.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
But he is, he's a very good friend of mine, a very good friend. And I'm not just saying this because he's my friend, but that dude, I don't understand how he operates on a daily basis. And it never seems to bother him. You know what I mean? That is somebody that I can get behind, and that is somebody that I want to pick their brain. Even though I have absolutely zero desire to do a business like he does. He is all about, custom work, but his mindset is unlike anybody I've ever met in my entire life. And what he does and what he knows and what he wants to do can translate to so many other things. I respect him on very, very high levels on what it is that he's doing. So from a business perspective, I honestly, if I was being honest, I would say that Mike Coffey is probably at the top of my list, even though he's probably the most far off from what it is that I want to do, because a lot of those things would transfer over into my business. So that would be my answer.
Excellent. Ben, you're up.
Ben, you're up.
All righty. Let's see. What is your preferred method for a perfect miter joint? If you're working with raw materials, you want to make sure that it is 100% completely flat. If you don't have, if there's like the slightest cup or the slightest bow in your material and you're trying to cut a miter, the miter's never going to line up. Never. So, get a good square out, and especially where you're going to have the joint before you cut it, make sure that it's completely flat. I've had success on a miter saw. However, most of my good miter cuts come from the track saw, and just making sure that the saw is completely supported by the material underneath, that it's not going to dip when the pre-cut or the follow-through cut. You want to make sure that you have sacrificial materials on both sides, so that way you're also reducing tear out and chip out, but you're also supporting the blade, so that way it stays perfectly perpendicular to the material that you're trying to cut. Jason, you've had good success with router bit, right? Chamfer bit.
Yeah, router table's my answer. That's from Jevon, right? Jevon Cheney Concepts.
Yeah.
Router table and router bit. That's my answer. The
And
best results I've ever had in my entire life.
if you're
Perfect,
doing
every time.
18 mil and below, or depending on the size of the router bit, right?
Depending on the size of the router bit, yeah, you can
Yeah.
do up to. It's all based on your router bit size. You might have to take more passes to get there to be safe, but yeah, 100%. Router table and router bit, the best results I've ever had with any mitered corners. Perfect every single time. I have a video about it on my YouTube channel. Everybody, Ben's Woodworking and more. Check it out.
What about you, Sedge?
Apex or any miter saw that you use the hold down, because that's how you control it. Don't use your hand to hold it down because it's a push cut. I've had doors that people say, how did you get these perfect miters? And they go, do you have a shooting board? Do you have nope, Apex with the hold down. And that's how you get it, because it's a push cut. I'll have to go watch that video on a perfect miter, because I don't understand how you do it on the
Yeah, you did it for the nightstand video, right, Jason?
Yep.
on a router
It depends
table.
on the material you're doing, right? So Sedge, if you're doing like a picture frame or a door frame or something like that, where
Mhm.
the material
it's a long miter.
It's a long miter, then yeah, you
Oh,
can't
you're talking
really
about a bevel.
Yeah, bevel. Yeah, bevel.
Oh, you're talking
like
about
if I
a
was doing
bevel with a
box
lock
with
miter?
3/4 inch material or 1 inch material,
Yeah.
I would use my router table and a router bit, and I would have a perfect box. If I was doing a picture frame, I couldn't do that.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. That's a miter. You're talking about a bevel. That's a completely different
Well,
thing.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
I can
said
see that on
perfect
the
miter
router table.
joint, but
It's not a miter joint on what you're talking about. That's bevel.
I think that's what he's implying, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like, yeah,
It's the
tomato,
same
tomato,
concept, it's
like
just it's the which grain face.
No, it's a bevel.
now you're
It's a
just
long
talking
miter.
about.
It's a bevel.
Well, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, long miter, sure.
But the term is used in the sphere as a miter cut. If you're doing like a waterfall box or waterfall edge, people are calling that a miter, even though it's a bevel.
Yeah.
Right.
Now that's something that we can. What you were talking about, Ben, about having it milled perfect, because that's what that's what happens. Everybody wants the waterfall when we're at Rubio on those slabs. But those the slabs that we get there are not milled perfectly.
Yeah.
So Amanda Russell came up with a really cool thing. She put a board on the track to keep it dead flat across that to do the bevel, and it worked out really well to waterfall. Yeah, it's kind of like, I know what you're talking about, Jason. You were talking about miter, where people say it's actually a bevel, but I hear it all the time when people say, "Oh, I dadoed the back," and it's actually a groove, because a dado goes cross grain and a groove goes long grain, but people just don't know.
Yeah.
And and I hate correcting people, but
I think
do
people
it.
are more asking for like a box, a mitered edge.
Yeah, not many
because
people.
that's what you hear. You hear a mitered edge when in reality it's a beveled edge.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I was trying to wrap my head around what you were saying with a router table, and I'm like, oh, okay, got it. Because I would never cut a miter on a table.
No, a miter, I'm going to use my Capex.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And the only way to join a bevel like that for a mitered box is perfect every single time with a domino.
Or a lamello, I hear, but I've never used mine, so I wouldn't know.
Holy shit, you still haven't used it?
No, I haven't used it.
Come
My
on.
plan is to. Okay, look.
I'm
here's
going
the
to
deal.
borrow it. I'm going to borrow it. I want to use it.
I'm going to IWF next week, and I'm going to get a one-on-one training class with Keith Johnson. I'm going to make some cuts with it prior to going there, just so I can act like I know a little bit of what he's talking about when I'm there.
Who's Keith
Ben,
Johnson?
are we doing the third question?
I don't think we have time for it. No, I don't think we do.
Fine.
Wait, we had some cool questions, huh?
We did. Definitely got some for
Man,
the next
both of
time.
mine were from Nick Hall. That was cool. Thanks,
Hey,
Nick.
Ben, can we all answer just one more question? Because I'm actually interested in hearing who your guys' answer is.
What?
Just one more, Ben.
What?
One more. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Go for
Okay,
it.
here's the question. It's from Ed Mancini.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for
Whose shop have you always wanted to visit and why? I'll give you my answer while you guys are thinking. Spagnolo, actually. I would like to go to Spagnolo's shop, especially now that he's setting up a new shop. I would like to go to Mark's shop. I feel like because there's probably some similarities between his and mine. I'd like to kind of see how he works since he's kind of the godfather of all this online social media stuff. That would be my answer. I'd like to see how he takes filming into consideration. And I'd like to get an idea of how it is that he works.
Cool.
I don't think I have one.
Sedge?
I'm kind of blessed because I have visited a lot of really cool shops over the years, and I continue to do it. I'm in Canada at a school coming up pretty soon. They got a hell of a program in downtown Toronto. I'm doing that festival shop talk from there. And I'm also going to be in, but I've been there before, Rustic Designs by Rich, really cool in Hamilton, Ontario. Okay, so there's somebody that I am going to go visit, and I'm going to hang out with her in her shop. She's invited me 100 times, and I watch her shop all the time on Instagram. I want to go visit Alma.
Oh yeah,
Pink Soul Studios, because
fun.
she is one of the most wonderful human beings on this planet, for sure.
I do want to answer it, but it's not a woodworking person's shop. It's a motorcycle shop.
Who is it?
Go ahead.
There's this guy named
Not that anybody gives a shit, but go ahead.
His name's Adam Sandoval. He's got a YouTube channel, but a few years ago, he made a name for himself by he rode to every single Harley Davidson dealer in the entire country for 2 years, I think, 3 years it took him to do it.
Wow.
And it was to raise money for veterans.
Good man.
Good dude.
And so he did it. He had a little dog named Scooter, and that's literally all he did. I know he did it for 2 years straight. So like riding through the winter, riding through the summer, he went to every single Harley Davidson dealer, and at every one he got a shirt because every dealer has their own T-shirt.
Yeah.
And so in his shop, I think it's in South Carolina, maybe North Carolina, but he's got this huge shop, and along the top of it, it's like really high elevated ceilings. He has all of the shirts on hangers.
How many
going
Harley
on.
dealers are there?
I want to say it's like 700 or 800.
Jesus, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, I found that to be incredibly cool. And,
yeah, it is.
He still does YouTube content. He doesn't do like rides for campaign raises or anything like that.
Cool.
That's a good answer.
698.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Google, nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
Google machine.
But
Google.
but I thought that was really cool. He's got he has like a campground now, and it's got like huts, I guess if you want to call it, like bunkhouses almost, and it's like an RV park and a campsite and stuff like that. But he lets veterans stay there for free. So like if there's like a veteran that's homeless, or like passing through, he lets them stay for free. So I thought that was really cool.
Should link up with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good times. All right. That's all the questions.
All right, everybody. Thanks
Hey.
to everyone that submitted their questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and ideas. Again, if you want to have your question read on an upcoming episode 55, then head over to greensuiterspodcast.com. Go to the questions tab. It's at the top. Submit your question, your idea, whatever it is. And if it's good enough, meaning if you just throw in like a good diss towards Jason, that just guarantees that it's going to be read on the air. Yep. Submit it there. And thanks to everyone that submitted their questions, comments, and concerns to this episode. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next episode.
Yay.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.